Lucrecia Restrepo, a psychiatrist at the psychiatric hospital in Medellin, Colombia, wrote an article for the journal titled Revista in 2016 about Rosario. Rosario was a 21-year-old woman whose dress size was a 6. Although she had a perfectly average body size, she still struggled with eating disorders and a distorted body image for most of her life. When she was 16, one of her classmates died of self-starvation because they too struggled with an eating disorder. Despite the apparent danger of her situation, she continued vomiting, taking pills, and using other unhealthy means of weight loss. Many girls our age today struggle with the same thing that Rosario struggled with. However, it was not always so common to have these issues. Over the past century, women's body image has been altered significantly by culture. Today, I will discuss such alterations. First, I will talk about women's body image in the early 1900s. Second, I will talk about women's body image in the late 1900s. Third, I will discuss the topic of women's body image in the 21st century. To begin, I will start by describing the early 1900s body image of women. The early 1900s is when women first began to really obsess over their body image. From the year 1900 all the way into the 1920s, body image went through some drastic changes. The end of World War I marked the beginning of a new fashion era, one where, to quote Alan Mazur, the professor of public affairs at the Maxwell School of Syracuse University, and his article in the Journal of Sex Research in 1986, waistlines were let out and hemlines rose. Mazur goes on to describe how a woman's physical attractiveness was now based on her face and exposed legs. The 30s, 40s, and 50s also introduced new changes to body image. According to Dr. Jean Martin, a registered dietitian, and her research article for Nutrition Today in 2010, women and models of the 30s and 40s were considered ideally beautiful if they were extremely skinny at the waist. Dr. Martin goes on to say that in the 1950s, the Marilyn Monroe era occurred. This meant that tone-fit women, such as Marilyn Monroe, would also be considered ideally beautiful. I have finished discussing women's body image in the early 1900s. I will now discuss women's body image in the late 1900s. The late 1900s were rather revolutionary for women's body image. In the 60s and 70s, women began to create their own standards for beauty. According to the previously cited article by Professor Mazur, women started wearing more masculine clothing and burning their own bras due to the popularization of feminism. In Dr. Martin's previously cited article, she says that dark eye makeup and flashy clothing became more popular due to influencers like Leslie Lawson, also known as Twiggy. The 80s and 90s also brought more variation into body image. Jesper Andreasen and Thomas Johansson, both authors of Society and Gym Studies, wrote an article for Sports Science Review in 2014. They stated that slim, athletic, body-type women became more popular as American consumerism became more popular. This is because women of that body type would appear in the more popular TV ads on TV. In the previously stated article by Dr. Martin, research shows that BMIs of Miss America winners started increasing in the late 90s. In the years before that, they were decreasing. But since muscle mass was now becoming part of the ideal body image, BMIs started increasing. I finished discussing women's body image in the late 1900s. I will now discuss women's body image in the 21st century. The body image in the 2000s is much different than it was in the 1900s. In the early 2000s, the promoted body image started hurting women more than motivating them. Dr. Fiona McCallum of the University of Warwick and Heather Widdows, the professor of global ethics in the Department of Philosophy at the University of Birmingham, and their research article for Healthcare Analysis in 2018 stated that digitally modified photos of women started promoting body images that other women could not obtain in a safe way. This contributed to the normality of self-deprecating comments that women would make towards themselves. Cases of anorexia and bulimia also became more common during this time. To quote the previously cited article by Lucrecia Restrepo, anorexia and bulimia used to be considered exotic. They are now diseases that affect thousands of people around the world. Today, body acceptance is much more common than actual self-confidence when it comes to body image. According to Dr. McCallum and Professor Widow's previously cited article, women tend to accept the body image of other people instead of their own body image. According to the previously cited research article by Dr. Martin, the new philosophy has become, it is okay if 66% of Americans are overweight as long as I am part of the other 34%. First, I talked to you about women's body image in the early 1900s. Second, I talked to you about the women's body image in the late 1900s. Third, I discussed women's body image in the 21st century. Over the past century, women's body image has been altered significantly by culture. For Rosario and millions of other girls, the promoted body images of today will negatively affect them. As their peers, it is our job to value body positivity over the actual possession of our culture's promoted body image.